Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
Absolute format is the best way to own this store. Time to empty those wallets and fill those shelves. Happy Monday, all you mentees. Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions, and join me today for your advanced look at The Amazing Spider-Man by Nick Spencer Omnibus Volume 2 from Marvel Comics. So let's go ahead and get started. And welcome back, everybody. Now, before I go any further, a big thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks of Marvel for sending us an advanced copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on June 4th or 5th, depending on where you get your books. What we're looking at here is one of the direct market covers. This is the one by Patrick Gleason. On the left-hand side is the other direct market cover, and that's the one by Arthur Adams. And on the right-hand side is your standard edition cover, and that is the one that is supplied by Ryan Ottley. And the standard edition cover is the one that's going to be available everywhere, while the direct market covers are only available at places like cheapgraphicnovels.com, waltzcomicshop.com, bdcosmos.com, comicsbugle.com, diamondbreedcollectors.com, organicpricebooks.com, InStock Trades, Tales of Wonder, DCBS, Read Comics, and places like that, or your local comic book store. But everything else underneath the dust jacket is the same, so we will bring it back to this. I love this cover. This is from Last Remains, one of the storylines in here, and Patrick Gleason just killed it with this cover. So much so that he started doing it for Carnage, and I think Venom had one, and other characters. Let's look at the spine here. Amazing Spider-Man, right there. Marvel Omnibus by Nick Spencer. Brizin, Bagley, Ferreira, Gleason, and Vincetti. And Volume 2 down there. And then The Amazing Spider-Man, Deadly Sins. A little bit about what's collected in here, and definitely the content of the book. ISBN, rated T, and $150. And this piece right here is done by Mark Bagley. It looks like, no, there's some Patrick Gleason stuff in there too. Now, let's look at this together with Volume 1. So here you have Volume 1 and Volume 2 together, and that's what they will look like on your bookshelf. Now, if you're wondering where this fits into the reading order of Amazing Spider-Man, I think I have to update my reading order. It will look something like this on your bookshelf. The Spider-Man Beyond Omnibus happens after the Nick Spencer Omnibus. I really like the fact that they kept the designs right here very similar. You have these group of villains over here, and then these group of villains, and I'm sorry, not just villains, some supporting cast over here, and some supporting cast over there as well. Very nice. Now let's look at what's underneath the dust jacket. Looks like that Bagley piece, and the Riddle of Kindred. That's right, it's all told through here, and then a little bit about the creators: Nick Spencer, Ed Brizin, Mark Bagley, Marcelo Ferreira, Patrick Gleason, and Federico Vincentini. Now, this piece is from the Sinister War storyline that is collected in here. It's an amazing piece by Mark Bagley. All right, we are going to crack this book open and talk about the stories found in here and show off that artwork. But I'm going to go ahead and say, if you don't even want to look at what's collected in here, you know you're going to buy it. This book is mapped beautifully, beautifully. And I'll talk about it more in detail here in a few. But let's go ahead and crack it open. All right, let's go ahead and get this book open. Your end sheets, your title page right there. Amazing Spider-Man zoomed in. And then the credits. Nick Spencer, Matthew Rosenberg, Ed Brizin, Christos Gage. And then all the different artists from the different books that they worked on, including the legacy issues here by Peter David and Sal Buscema, and J.M. DeMatteis and Sal Buscema. I thought that was a nice touch, giving them credits, because we do have excerpts from those particular issues. But these are broken down, not the way that it's mapped, but they're broken down by different teams, the different artist teams. So you do have like Mark Bagley, Federico Vincentini, Takeshi Miyazawa, Marcelo Ferreira, Carlos Gomez, Raj Antonio, and of course the big ones in here, Patrick Gleason and Ryan Ottley. But yes, also Mark Bagley drawing a lot of the stories in here. Look at all the different pencilers in the big celebration issue. We kick it off with Amazing Spider-Man Sins Rising Prelude. So what does this collect? Let's talk about that. This collects Amazing Spider-Man 44 to 73 and 74 the A and B stories for the last story that is collected in the Beyond Omnibus. And this also collects 50.LR to 54.LR, and that's the Last Remain storyline. And those were kind of the interludes, but very important to the story. As we talked about the Amazing Spider-Man Sins Rising Prelude, which is right here. Amazing Spider-Man The Sins of Norman Osborn. Giant Size Amazing Spider-Man King's Ransom. Giant Size Amazing Spider-Man The Chameleon Conspiracy. And Sinister War 1 through 4. There is a little story in here from the free comic book day as well. 1,336 pages. And again, retailing for $150. Now, this book, as I mentioned, is mapped wonderfully. So let's talk a little bit about that first. In the first storyline, we do have the return of one of Spider-Man's most obscure, weird villains that hasn't been seen for a long time. And this is one of the flashbacks scenes right here. I love that it's thrown in there. I love that they give credit to the folks that wrote those stories. But this is the Sins Rising story, and it is the return of the Sin Eater. Now, is it the original Sin Eater, or is it a copycat? That's for you to find out. I'm not going to spoil that kind of thing. So I guess minor spoilers talking about the stories in here. I'm not going to reveal like who Kindred was or anything like that. But the Sin Eater is back, and he's also back a little bit different because his powers are the literal translation of what sin eating is, and he's got different targets. And yes, Kindred has something to do with his return. And of course, he's going after villains. So some people are like, hey, that's a good idea. Why are we trying to stop this guy from going after villains? Spider-Man should be praising him. Well, Spider-Man's like, no, he can't kill people, even though he's doing something that he thinks is right. Now, what he's doing, like I mentioned, his powers are a little bit different since he was resurrected. But his next big target is Norman Osborn. He wants to go after Norman Osborn for his sins of the past. And Spider-Man's like, no, I gotta stop him. But there is a group of spider folk that refuse to help Norman Osborn. So this is when it gets a little confusing, because you have Julia Carpenter as the new Madam Web, and she's formed a team of web slingers to stop Spider-Man from helping Norman Osborn against the Sin Eater. And that's what this storyline is about. That's what the Sins Rising storyline is about. It is about the return of the Sin Eater, but also the return of Norman Osborn when he's changed and teaming up with Spider-Man now. So it's a little bit different than they have been before. I do like that team of spider folk, though. I think the Order of the Web was a pretty cool idea. And, you know, not knowing exactly where to ally themselves. It's one of the big celebration issues. It's a big issue, has different artists coming in and different writers coming in and writing different stories about Spider-Man. This is the Starling character that may have relations to another winged villain. And this is the Last Remains story. So when I talked about mapping and I said it's beautiful, the Last Remains storyline is the one I was talking about. Last Remains is mapped beautifully because you have Last Remains and Spider-Man, and then you have the LR issues, and then they go back to Spider-Man. The LR issues are important because they show you what the rest of the Spider-Folk are doing. Whereas the Amazing Spider-Man issues during Last Remains shows you what Spider-Man is doing. And this is the big fight against Kindred, too. It is revealed in this omnibus the identity of Kindred, the character that first appeared in the omnibus by Nick Spencer, the very first one. But this is the one that reveals everything about that character. And maybe their ties to Spider-Man. But yes, Last Remains is freaking mapped awesome. I'm so glad they did this. I was always worried, right? They could put the Spider-Man stories in the front, and they can put the Last Remains stories in the back. And it just, I think for this one, though, they did take some thought into how this would be mapped. And I think there were actually 2 trade paperbacks of Last Remain, if I'm not mistaken. So, like there was the Last Remains companion. So the stories were separated then. And then we get the Shattered Web storyline. So this is after the Last Remains, and it is the return of a couple of big villains to the Spider-Man storyline. And where exactly is Norman Osborn during this? Like, how is he going to ally himself? Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? And if you've been reading the Zeb Wells series, that does kind of answer a lot of the questions as to, how he allies himself here. We do have the King's Ransom storyline that also introduces us to the new Spider-Man outfit, but also introduces us to a romance that will carry on into the Zeb Wells era of Amazing Spider-Man. And the giant-sized story is in here too from King's Ransom. So Wolverine, and you have some of the street-level defenders show up through here, some of the characters from the Avengers when Spidey was with the Avengers. We have the return of the Chameleon through here in the Chameleon Conspiracy. And he's not the only character that's back. There's another character that's back through here. One that I wasn't expecting to see. This is, of course, the image that I showed a little bit earlier. Or, no, it's actually the art on board. But this leads into the whole Dr. Octopus gaining some new members for the Sinister Six, and this is the Sinister War. So everything comes to a close here with the Sinister War. Doc Ock is back and assembling a new team of Sinister Six. By the way, mapped beautifully because you have, like, for example, Amazing Spider-Man Sinister War Part 2. And then you have the Sinister War number 4. So it's like Sinister War issues are in between the Amazing Spider-Man issues. So worry not, this is mapped wonderfully. Again, these I think were collected in 2 different paperbacks. Maybe it was just like Sinister War and Sinister War Companion, if I'm not mistaken. But this does wrap up the era of Nick Spencer on Spider-Man. In the back, I think this is the Free Comic Book Day story in memory. Yeah, this is the one with Todd Knock. Just doing a quick recap of all of Peter Parker's life. And who is that gentleman that was at the gravesite? And then this is the complete history by Cheyenne Ryan and Gustavo Duarte. And then we get the covers, the variant covers, in a splash page format. So even the Gurihiru story right there. And all that is beautiful. I forgot about the Mary Jane cover. So yes, all of these covers, and I've always liked that one. Yeah, some of them are misleading as heck. They've been doing that for a while. Some of these are homages, but some of these actually made it as the covers to this very omnibus. But misleading when you're like, wait, what does that even mean? Celebrating a character sometimes. And what is this? Oh, this is the second printing. It's the black and white drawing. Nice. But a lot of variant covers. Let's see if, I think these are the handbook variants. Yeah, these are the handbook variants. And there were a lot of those too. I think with the Sinister War storyline, yeah. I'm going to skip a few so you yourself can look through here and be surprised. I was wondering if there's any original. Okay, so there is some original art in here. But most of the extras, most of the stuff in the back matter are those covers. So you do have pencils here by Bagley, Marcelo Ferreira. Lots of Bagley. And then Federico Vincentini. Beautiful piece right there by Humberto Ramos. All right, there's your end sheets. Let's talk about the binding. 1,336 pages, sewn binding. And look at that eye. It's a big eye, baby. That's what we need. Now, this book was printed at the Mega Print. It lays over really nice. There's very minimal bleed through. The paper stock is this thick, glossy paper. And the spread pages, honestly, not a lot of spread pages towards the beginning, so I could show what it looks like. But yes, very minimal gutter loss right there. And that's it. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, don't forget to check out our sponsors. BD Cosmos, the Canadian leader in graphic novels. They have a physical storefront in Montreal, Quebec, and their website, bdcosmos.com, offers 25% off your order of over $99 or more, and free shipping everywhere in Canada for every order of $200 or more.
Their shipping care is exceptional. Your books will stay cozy through the rough Canadian weather and arrive to you in near mint condition.
After checkout, let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way, and you'll be added to the monthly $25 gift card raffle. Entries are valid for new and returning customers.
Don't be afraid to call or email them. Ask them questions. Their staff is always happy to help guide you towards the right purchase. Visit their website, bdcosmos.com, for more. BD Cosmos, with rewards and raffles taking care of customers in Canada. Eh?
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this omnibus. Let me know in the comments down below if you plan on picking it up, if you have them in trade paperback already or single issues, if you have volume 1, and what other Spider-Man series or storylines or events you would like to see collected in an omnibus format. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. That's it, everybody. Stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.